And we ended with some dancing tumultuous kirtan. Today morning we were at Iskcon Sarjapur, and very wonderful, very small but very wonderful, beautiful congregation. And the program ended at about 9:30, 9:40. And then by the time we got onto the car, it was almost 10 o'clock. And then we were blessed by the Bengaluru traffic. So by the time we came here, we reached at about 11:30. And no worries, it's anyway IST, so 11:30, 11:40, one and the same. So thank you all once again for very kindly joining, inspiring and blessing me with your very kind presence. Before we begin, I also want to express my heartfelt gratitude, because in all my classes, my parents are always there. But today my mama is here, who lives here. My mommy is sitting behind. My grandmother is there, that is my mother's mother. And I think my cousin brother is also, he's not here. So my mama and mommy are there and my grandmother is here. So I seek blessings from them as superiors. When my brother and I, we were young, we have learned so much from them. So very honored and very happy that they are here to bless me with their kind presence. And also very humble obeisances to all the devotees who are present here. Please accept my very humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya manobhishtam sthapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kada mahyam dadati swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Te Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya हेमावदिव्यच्छविसुन्दराय तस्मै महाप्रेमरसप्रदाय चैतन्यचन्द्राय नमो नमस्ते चैतन्यचन्द्राय नमो नमस्ते चैतन्यचन्द्राय नमो नमस्ते नित्यानन्दम् अहं नौमि सर्वानन्दकरं परं हरिनामप्रदं देवम् अवधूतशिरोमणि। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की, श्री नित्यानंद राम की। So I was told to mix and match English and Hindi, to have some English or just Hindi? Only English? English or English? English. 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 So in the interest of time, we see it's already 12. In the first two discussions, we spoke about Krishna. We spoke from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. We spoke about Shripad Narada Muni. Who is Narada Muni? He is that personality who goes from place to place, inspires everyone about Radha and Krishna. Narad Muni bajaye veena Radhika Ramana Name. O Narad Muni bajaye veena Radhika Ramana Name. He goes from place to place, inspiring everyone about Radha and Krishna. And he is not that person who's the way he's shown in Indian daily soaps, as someone who is जो चुगली करते हैं. Narad Muni is not that personality who does chugli. He is actually inspiring everyone about chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, about this path of Krishna consciousness. Yesterday evening, we spoke about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Today morning at Sarjapur, we again spoke about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So 2 classes about Krishna and his devotee in the form of Narada Muni, 2 classes in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I thought, why should we keep Sri Ram to the side? We spoke about Leela Avatar. We spoke about Prema Avatar, Prema Purushottam. We spoke about Leela Purushottam. Why keep Maryada Purushottam to the side? Keeping this theme of our discussion, we will discuss something in the limited time that we have. We will discuss something about Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramachandra. Sri Maryada Purushottam Ramchandra Bhagavan ki. One time, we see Parikshit Maharaj was very eager to hear Katha. But his son was not very eager. Who is Parikshit Maharaj's son? Janame Jaya, yes, Janame Jaya. Father was very much interested, son was not much interested. Typical Kali Yuga scene. Father is into it, kid is not into it. Janame Jaya was not very interested, but on the flip side we find Parikshit Maharaj practically gave up everything to hear from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for the next 7 days. And here was Parikshit Maharaj scratching his head. What is that thing I should do to make my son Krishna conscious? Oftentimes this is the most common asked questions to preachers. प्रभु जी कुछ कीजिए, बच्चा करता ही नहीं है. हम घर पे माला करते, हम घर पे पूजा करते, बच्चा करता ही नहीं. कितना बोले प्रभु जी करता ही नहीं है. Typical question. And this comes from Shastra. This is parampara. So here was Janame Jaya, the son of Parikshit, not very interested in hearing. He tried everything possible, but things wouldn't work. Because what to do? Familiarity breeds contempt. When the same thing comes from your known people, we don't take it seriously. But when it comes from outside, it's taken much seriously. So here Parikshit Maharaj thought to himself, if I speak, he is not going to accept. Let me do one thing. Let me call Vaishampayana Muni. Vaishampayana Muni was called, and Parikshit Maharaj told Vaishampayana Muni, I don't know what to do. Do what it takes, but make him a devotee. Do what it takes. Jo karna hai kijiye. But make sure he becomes a devotee. Vaishampayana Muni said, you leave that to me. Krishna Bhakta ei bada chatur, we discussed yesterday. Devotees are very intelligent. Vaishampayana Muni goes to Janamejaya and just says 2 words. He doesn't speak full katha. Because यदि पेट में भूख हो और 56 भोग सामने रखे, तब हम आस्वादन कर सकते हैं. यदि पेट में भूख ही ना हो और सामने 56 भोग रखे, तो कहाँ से आस्वादन करेंगे? How will we appreciate? If the person is least interested in hearing katha, what is the probability that he is going to sit 1 hour and hear? Not possible. So, Vaishampayana Muni goes to Janamejaya and just says 2 words. Please kindly repeat. The first was Vanabhangam. Second was Goharanam. What was the first? What was the second? What was the first? And what was the second? What was the first? 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 There is always someone who falls for this trap, 1 and 2. So what was the first? Second? Now you may be having this question, what is Vanabhangam, what is Goharanam? Janamejaya had the same question. He looked at Vaishampayana Muni and said, what is Vanabhangam? What is Goharanam? Explain completely. अभी एक word में प्रभु जी क्या मजा नहीं आएगा, पूरा बोलिए. So from Vanabhangam, he explained as to how Hanuman went to Ashokwan and set the whole one on fire. He explained as to how Hanuman flies there and sets the whole thing on fire from Vanabhangam. And from Goharanam, he explains as to how the cows of Maharaj Virata from Mahabharata were stolen and Arjuna went and reclaimed them back. So what were the 2 words? First? Second? From Vanabhangam, he explained as to how Hanuman goes to Ashokwan, sets the whole forest, the whole one on fire. And from Goharanam, he explained as to how the cows of Maharaj Virata from Mahabharata were stolen. And Arjuna went and reclaimed them back. Now Janamejaya heard, he said, but why did Hanuman even do that? Where is Ashokwan? What was the need for him to set the whole thing on fire? Who is Maharaj Virata? Who is Arjuna? And why were the cows stolen? Please explain in full. Don't just say it in 1 sentence. Now Vaishampayana Muni, who started with 1 word, then became 1 sentence. Now he downloaded the full Ramayana and Mahabharata. He who had no interest in hearing, ended up hearing the whole Ramayana and Mahabharata, and it started with 1 word. Krishna Bhakta, ei bada chatur. He understood Janamejaya is not going to hear. घी सीधी उंगली से ना निकले, उंगली टेढ़ी करनी पड़ती है. तो वैशंपायन मुनि भी यही सोचे कि उंगली टेढ़ी क्यों ना करे. शुरुआत किए एक शब्द से, एक शब्द बना एक सेंटेंस, और एक सेंटेंस बना पूरी कहानी. 1 word transitions to 1 sentence, transition to 2 full epics. I was in the US, I was in South Carolina, and I was speaking this. And at the end, 1 6-year-old boy came to me. And he said, Prabhuji, Virat had cows? So I said, yes. He said, oh, in the TV I see him with a bat. I said, not Virat Kohli. He was convinced that sitting on the Vyasasana I was talking about Virat Kohli. I said, Baba, name is same, personalities are different. So here we find, father was not interested, or father was interested, but son was not interested. But later by the preaching of Vaishampayana Muni, son also ended up becoming a devotee. One time one son went to his father and said, my dear father, Ram became great by following his father Dasharath Maharaj. Prahlad became great by not following his father Hiranyakashipu. My dear father, what should I do? Should I follow you or not? Valid question. Kids come up with very logical questions. Makes sense. Ram followed his father Dasharath Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj became great by not following his father Hiranyakashipu. My dear father, what should I do? Should I follow you or not? Father is also very intelligent. Father said, my dear son, this is not Satya Yuga. This is not Treta Yuga, but this is Kali Yuga. And in Kali, it is good for us that both of us follow your mother. No grahastha problems. अच्छा ही इसी में कि दोनों माता जी का बात सुने, सुख शांति घर आवे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे. There is mental peace. It is a classic Kali Yuga scene. Parents are, but child is not, or vice versa. Child is there, parents are not. But here we find he who didn't have much interest ended up hearing the whole katha. And as we mentioned at the start, that our theme for today's discussion is Sri Ram, and here also we find as to how from Vanabhangam it transitioned to Hanuman setting the whole thing on fire and the whole of Ramayana. One time one devotee was telling me, he asked me a question, and I am asking this question again to all of you all. He asked me, Prabhuji, who is the most merciful? Krishna, okay. Any others? Nityananda Prabhu. Anyone else? Srila Prabhupada, wonderful. Anyone else? Radharani, okay. One last. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when he asked me, I said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I said Namo Mahavadanyaya, he is the most magnanimous, most merciful. He said no. I said, Acha, this is what I have been always taught. Mahaprabhu is most merciful. He said no. He said, Prabhuji, when did Krishna appear in this world? I said night time. He said, which means fasting till night. When did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear? Evening. Fasting till? When did Ram appear? Fasting till? Who is most merciful? I said, interesting. Devotees can come up with their own logic and they will have things to even substantiate it. Makes sense. Ram appeared at afternoon fasting only till 12 o'clock. For Krishna, fasting till night 12 o'clock, and it doesn't end there. Fasting till 12, you break, next day Prabhupada appearance. Again fasting. So of course, as we know, as Prabhupada has taught us, in this age of Kali, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful. Namo Mahavadanyaya. But that doesn't mean that Sri Ram is not merciful. Sri Ram is also very, very merciful. In fact, when Sri Ram and Maya Sita, when they were in Vanvas, at that time Lord Shiva and Parvati, or Lord Shiva and Sati, Lord Shiva and Sati, they came and they were passing through the forest. And as they were passing through the forest, they saw Sri Ram. And here was Sri Ram crying. Why? Because the kidnapping had just happened. Sri Ram was in tears. Maya Sita was kidnapped. He was crying. And Lord Shiva saw this scene. And Lord Shiva offered obeisances. Why? Because his worshipable Lord is Sri Ram. This is why they say that when someone dies in Kashi, they get mukti. Why? Because Kashi is the place where Vishwanath ji is there. काशी में यदि किन्हीं की चलती है तो केवल विश्वनाथ जी की चलती है. वहां तो मानो ठाकुर जी की भी नहीं चलती, केवल विश्वनाथ जी की चलती है. तो ऐसा क्यों कहा गया है कि यदि कोई मृत्यु प्राप्त कर ले काशी में, मुक्ति क्यों मिलती है? Because it is believed that when the person dies in Kashi, Lord Shiva comes close to him and chants Rāma-Nāma in his ear. And when Sri Rāma-Nāma is chanted in your ear by the best among devotees, Lord Shiva, why will you not get liberated? So this is why oftentimes in Indian Vedic custom we find most times people in their fag end wind up and they go to Kashi so that they can attain liberation. So Lord Shiva's Ishtadev, his worshipable Lord is Sri Ram. And now he sees Ram and Ram is crying and he offers obeisances because he understands that this is the Naravat Leela, this is the human-like pastimes of Sri Ram. But Sati, when she sees this, Sati is bewildered. Sati has doubts in her head. Sati thinks to herself, hey, what kind of Bhagavan? He says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma no shochati na kangshati. He says you should not lament, you should be happy, you should be this, you should be that. And here wife is getting kidnapped, he is crying. What kind of God? Now Lord Shiva understood that he is Bhagavan. He is playing human-like pastimes. Sati had doubts in her head. Sati goes to Sri Ram and Sri Ram is crying. But when Sati goes, she takes the form of Maya Sita. She disguises herself in the form of Maya Sita and goes to Sri Ram and says, my dear Lord, the Sita whom you are waiting for is standing before you. And Sri Ram sees this and Sri Ram turns to the other side. And now Sati in the form of Sita comes to the other side and says, my dear Lord, your Sita is here. Sri Ram looks to the other side. Again she comes to the other side. And then Sri Ram understands, this is Sati in the form of Sita trying to trick me. So Sri Ram thinks to himself, well, if she can trick, I am no less. What does Krishna say in the Gita? Of the cheats, I am the greatest gambler. You cannot cheat Krishna. दुनिया में सबको टोपी पहना सकते हैं, ठाकुर जी को कोई टोपी नहीं पहना सकता. जितने भी जीव जंतु हैं हम सबको टोपी पहना सकते हैं. एकमात्र व्यक्ति ऐसे जो है जिनको कभी हम टोपी नहीं पहना सकते, हम चाहे जो भी क्यों ना हो, वो है प्रभु. He is there at all times, at all places, at all circumstances, everywhere. We can fool everyone. We can fool even our relatives. But we can't fool the Paramatma in our heart. Sri Ram understood. And now Sri Ram decides to trick her. And all of a sudden here is Sati starts seeing Sri Ram and Sita together. That Sita who was kidnapped, by the power potency of Sri Ram, Sati starts seeing it in a way where now she sees Ram and Sita together. And then within fraction of a second, it's just Sri Ram. And then within fraction of a second, it is Ram and Sita. Then again, it is just Sri Ram. Then again, Ram and Sita. And now she's bewildered. She's confused. What is going on? The same thing we find in Raya Ramananda Samvad. When Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are meeting, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decides to play with Ramananda Rai. And Ramananda Rai looks at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, Pahila dekhila tumhara sannyasi swaroop, ebe tuma dekhe moi shama goparoop. First time seeing you in sannyasi swaroop, oh now then I am seeing you in goparoop, Vrindavan form. First time seeing you as a sannyasi in Gaura Leela, or then I am seeing you as a cowherd boy in Braja Leela. Mahaprabhu was playing with him. And here again Sri Ram decides to play with Sati. And first it is Ram and Sita, then Ram and Sita, and then Sri Ram. Eventually Sati understands. And she falls at the feet of Sri Ram. Maaf kar do. Hey Bhagavan, maaf kar do. I made a mistake in my analysis, but seems like you are actually Bhagavan. You are playing Naravat Leela. Please forgive me. And Sati leaves that place. Out of shame, she leaves that place because she tested the worshipable Lord of her husband. She tested Maryada Purushottam Sri Ram. And then she goes back to Kailas where Lord Shiva is present. And when she goes to Kailas, Lord Shiva looks at her and says, what happened? Kya hua? You went to test Sri Ram, what happened? She says, oh, nothing. You carry on, you do your bhajan. Lord Shiva says, don't change the topic. You see, oftentimes we do it. When we don't have an answer, we change the topic. Sati tried to change topic. Lord Shiva says, what happened? You went to test Sri Ram, what happened? Sati was not even in a position to explain her fate. Lord Shiva decides to leave that place. I don't want to be in a place where my worshipable Lord is tested, where there is lack of faith in my worshipable Lord. Lord Shiva leaves that place. This brings us to the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the Daksha fire sacrifice. We see everyone was invited. Lord Shiva was not invited. Sati comes down. And then in the pretext of the Daksha fire sacrifice, Sati gives up her body And the reason that she gives is, well, my husband was not invited. Oftentimes it happens with us. Prabhuji, there was a home program. Everyone in Sheshadripuram was invited except me. Prabhuji, sabko amantran mila. Only I was not invited. Don't worry, this is also parampara. Even Lord Shiva was not invited for a program. But Lord Shiva didn't mind. But Sati, in the pretext of her husband not being invited, she gives up her body in the fire sacrifice. But this is external. Iha bahya. This is external. The internal reason why Sati gives up her body is she has a burning feeling in her heart that with this body I tested Sri Ram. What is the use of this body? Better let me just give up this body. And in the pretext of that sacrifice, Sati gives up her body. Next life comes back as the daughter of the mountain. Parvat's daughter is Parvati. She comes back as Parvati. And the day Parvati and Lord Shiva again come together is the day we celebrate as Mahashivratri. Even when we are discussing about Lord Shiva, Sri Ram is glorified. We can never just discuss Sri Ram and not discuss Lord Shiva, or vice versa. When devotees are glorified, the Lord is naturally glorified. When Lord is glorified, naturally the devotees are glorified. And what to speak about the power of the name of Sri Ram? We find that when the whole Ramayana was done, one of Ravan's ministers, he came to Vibhishan and said, "Hey, how did you cross this ocean? What is the magic?" And he said, "Oh, nothing. We just had rocks. In every rock we wrote the name of Sri Ram. The rocks were floating and we crossed." He said, "Hey, this is not possible." Vibhishan said, "Actually, we just took normal rocks. We wrote the name of Sri Ram. The rocks were floating and just we came." And Vibhishan gave a leaf. He gave a leaf to this minister and wrote the name of Sri Ram in it and folded it and gave it to him. And he said, "You hold this leaf which has the name of Sri Ram, and you can see just by the power of this leaf which has the name of Sri Ram, you can also cross this ocean." He said, "Acha, really?" Vibhishan said, "Yes." He took the leaf and started to walk. As he began to walk, the water was almost like knee deep. He could easily cross. But then he thought to himself, maybe the water is knee deep only. Maybe Ram's army, they don't know much. They were making a big scene out of it. Maybe the water is only knee deep. There was no need to make stones and write Sri Ram on it. So he took the leaf and tore the leaf into half and threw it. There's no need of Sri Ram's name. There's no need of this leaf. He tore it and threw it. Ramayana explains the moment he did that, that same water that was giving him way to cross by the power of Sri Rāma-Nāma, that same ocean became the cause of his death. Hare Krishna. That same ocean consumed him completely. Till the time there is faith, this process works. When there is lack of Shraddha, it takes time. We're talking about the name of the Supreme Lord. One time, one German, he came in touch with Krishna consciousness. And he was very inspired with the philosophy. His name was Hans Carey. Now, you see, during those days, there was this conflict of the Jews. We find even in the journey home, Srila Radhanath Maharaj explains. And now he was a Jew. Name was Hans Carey. And his name was such that he would be mocked very often. Now, oftentimes when we join the Krishna conscious movement, our major attraction is prasadam. For some it is Shastra, for some it is Kirtan, majority is prasadam. But for this German, his major attraction was after joining, after initiation, name will be changed. He was happy about that. After joining, name will be changed. So he joined our movement. Day of initiation, Prabhupada was sitting. He went close to Prabhupada. He was excited. Name is going to be changed. Prabhupada gave the beads. He said, "What is it?" Prabhupada said, "Very easy. Your name was Hans. Just add a Duta. Hans a Duta." and your last name was Carey, just add an Adi before that. Adi, Carey. He thought to himself, before initiation also name same, after initiation also name same. Name is not changing. So then in one of the morning walks, he asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what does Hamsaduta mean? Prabhupada said, read Bhagavatam. Dear devotees, there was no Veda base. No Control F. Books were just getting printed. So if you have to read, or if you have to know what the meaning of Hamsaduta is, you have to flip through all the pages. No Control F, no Veda base. So he didn't get an answer. 6 months down the line, another morning walk. He asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what does Hamsaduta mean? Prabhupada said, read Bhagavatam. So now he was understanding. Prabhupada is not in a mood to answer. Another 6-8 months passed by, and it was a room conversation. And Prabhupada was saying, Karandara means this, Brahmananda means this, Tamal Krishna means this, Jayadvaita means this, Bhakti Charu means this, Swarup Damodar means this. Hamsaduta, Prabhu put his hand up. Prabhupada, who is Hamsaduta? Prabhupada said, you. Prabhupada was in no mood to answer, and he was just playing around with him. The name of the Supreme Lord. We are talking about Ramayana. One time when Vibhishan was in the outskirts, living outskirts. When he was living in the outskirts, at that time one minister of Ravana, he went and complained to Ravan that, my dear Ravan, if you go to Vibhishan's house, throughout the walls, Ram, 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 Ram is written. He is your brother, but he is writing the name of Ram. He is a spy. He is there in your camp, but seems like he is helping there. So Ravan got very angry. And Ravan came there with his army. He came with his entourage. And he looked at every wall. Every wall was simply Ram, 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 Ram. Ravan said, hey, are you my brother? He said, yes. You are my brother and you are writing my enemy's name, Ram? He said, no, this is not Ram. Ra here stands for Ravan. Ma stands for Mandodri. I am writing Ravan, Mandodri, Ravan, Mandodri, Ravan, Mandodri. Ravan said, good, keep writing. Make sure Lanka's every wall is filled with Ram, Ram, Ram. Devotees are very intelligent. Krishna Bhakta, ei bada chatur. So the name of the Lord is very powerful, but till the time there is faith, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa kahe Sudrida Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti koile Sarva Karma Krita hoy. Just having this firm faith, that by performing Krishna consciousness, Krishna will maintain me and take care of me. And there are so many examples to illustrate that. When the holy name is chanted with faith, that ocean that is difficult to cross becomes knee deep. What is the praman? Bhagavatam. Samashritaye padapallavaplavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavambudirvatsa padam param padam 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 yat vipadam natesham. Canto 10, chapter 14, text 58, Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadev Goswami clearly mentions that those who take shelter of this path of Krishna consciousness, that ocean which is next to impossible to cross becomes the size. That ocean becomes the size of the hoof print of a calf. How much is the size of a hoof print of a calf? It's just this much. You can not just walk, you can jump over it. You can easily jump over it. But those who have taste, those who have faith, and faith comes by being in the association. Eka kiya maar nahi paya bol harinama sankirtane. Narottam Das Thakur loudly proclaims, in Kali, individually it's next to impossible to get Krishna. How much ever erudite scholar we are, how much ever intelligent we are, how much ever bank balance we have, how much ever fame, name, recognition we have, धन्य मनाभिजन रूप तपश्रुतोजस तेज प्रभाव बल पौरुष बुद्धि योग नाराधरानि भवन्ति परस्य पुंसाम भक्त्या तुतोष्ण भगवन गजयूतपाय 799 Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj says, Nothing attracts Krishna. It's not our wealth. It's not our fame. It's not our money. It's not our recognition. It's not our beauty. It's not our bodily strength. Nothing attracts him. Why? Because he has them in much better quantity and much better quality. It's almost like showing our bank balance to Mukesh Ambani. If we show our bank balance to Mukesh Ambani, do you think he's going to get impressed? It may look like peanuts for him. There's no way he's going to get impressed. Krishna is the Mukesh Ambani of the Mukesh Ambanis. How will he get attracted by our teeny tiny things that we do? But Prahlad Maharaj explains the only thing that attracts Krishna, the only thing that attracts Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the only thing that attracts Sri Ram, Bhaktya tutoshna bhagavan gajayutapaya. It's only bhakti, it's only bhakti, it's only bhakti. Bhakti plus anything makes sense. If there is no bhakti, but we have all the material riches, all the material possessions, it's like having a zero but not having a one before it. That zero makes sense when there is a one before it. That one in Kali is bhakti. If that bhakti is there, the whole math makes sense. It starts with faith. It starts with surrender to this process. It starts with faith unto the words of Sri Guru. In this path of Krishna consciousness, overnight results will never be seen. It's a gradual process. Purification is gradual. For some, one lifetime, for some, maybe multiple lifetimes. One time, Yamuna Mataji, Srila Prabhupada's illustrious daughter, disciple. One time Srila Prabhupada was in a train journey. And it was prasadam time. So Prabhupada opened the lunch box and it had rice. And the rice had become a little cold. So Prabhupada said, Yamuna, rice means hot. It should be hot. And now they are there in the train. And ideally you don't reheat the rice. It's not considered very proper. So what to do? Prabhupada said rice means it should be hot. Yamuna Mataji goes to the pantry. Indian train. Not even American train. Indian train. She goes to the pantry and tells the person, I want to cook. He says, what? She says, I want to cook. He says, no, we will get you food. It's part of our train journey. She says, no, my spiritual master wants hot rice. I want to cook. He says, no. No one has demanded this in the past. This is not allowed. You are paying for train journey. You sit in the train and you go to a destination. There is no cooking allowed. Yamuna Mataji said, are you allowing me or not? He said, no. Yamuna Mataji said, I am asking you last time. If you don't allow me, I will jump down from this train. Hare Krishna. This person said, all yours. Full pantry is yours. Use it. And he took a back seat. Yamuna Mataji went inside the pantry, cleaned whole pantry, cleaned all the vessels, prepared a full course meal for Prabhupada and served it to Prabhupada in an Indian train. We are talking about faith to spiritual master. One Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi was making this point. Never in the history has any sampradaya seen this level of Guru Nishtha that the disciples of Prabhupada showed for Prabhupada. They were ready to go to any extreme to please Prabhupada. And they were in their teens. They were 18 and 19, coming from hippie background, not having any culture of Vedic tradition, but having full faith in the words of Prabhupada. Ready to shave up, ready to wear dhoti and kurta, ready to eat Indian cuisine. They completely transformed, having faith in one personality. Rupa Goswami explains Guru Nishtha as the backbone to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Those who have faith in the words of spiritual master, those who have faith in the words of Prabhupada, faith in the words of superiors, will for sure make advancement. It starts with faith. So here, our Sri Ram was one time contemplating. When the kidnapping happened of Maya Sita, at that time, when Maya Sita was there in Ashok Vatika, Sri Ram sent a ring, the ring that he would wear. He sent it through Hanuman and said, "My dear Hanuman, please give it to Mother Sita." Hanuman flew all the way and gave it to Mother Sita. And when Mother Sita saw this, she started crying. And she said, "Hanuman, can I tell you something?" Hanuman said, "Yes." Maya Sita said, "One time, it so happened that I was in man. I was in sulking anger." You see, just like Radharani has sulking anger, Lakshmi has man, Sita Devi also has man. In fact, Radharani has man, that's why everyone else has. She is the origin. So Sita Devi was in man and she was not in a mood to talk to Sri Ram. So don't worry, even Sri Ram has some grahastha problems. Even if you're God, still you will have some grahastha dispute, some transcendental grahastha dispute. And now Sri Ram is scratching his head and thinking, what should I do? She is not ready to talk to me. Maya Sita was in sulking anger. So Sri Ram at that point takes his ring out and places the ring in one side of the room. And then Sri Ram starts searching in another side of the room. So Maya Sita sees this and says, "Hey, ring is here, he is searching there, how will he get the ring? If he searches here, he will get the ring. Ring is here, he is searching here, how will he ever get the ring?" And Maya Sita sees this scene for some time. And she gets up, picks up the ring from one side and goes and gives it to Sri Ram. And says, "My dear Lord, is this the ring that you were searching?" Sri Ram said, "Yes, I forgot where I kept the ring, but thank you, Mother Sita, for coming and giving it to me." Maya Sita gave the ring, but as she gave the ring, the anger in her heart was also completely dissipated. She did not even realize. She looked at the moon-like smiling face of Sri Ram. She gave the ring and completely her anger was subsided. And it united Mother Sita and Sri Ram. So when the ring was given by Hanuman to Maya Sita, she narrates this story to Hanuman and says, "My dear Hanuman, please go and tell Sri Ram that just like in the past this ring united us, may this ring unite us once again. It's been long I have not seen Prabhu Sri Ram. Please go and tell him that just like this ring united us last time, may it unite us once more." And eventually we find that after all the battle is done, Maya Sita and Sri Ram are united. We see this point that one time the story is mentioned as to how in the Vaikuntha, when Vishnu entered Vaikuntha once, his paraphernalia, which are also animate, they also entered. The Sudarshan Chakra entered. His club entered. His chakra entered. All his paraphernalia entered. And when Krishna's or Vishnu's Paduka, when it was Paduka's time to enter, the other paraphernalia said, "Hey, you don't have entrance. You should wait out. This entrance is only for us. You should wait out." He said, "Acha, really? But I am also Lord's paraphernalia." They said, "You may be, but you don't have entrance. Only we will go." And Lord Vishnu realized this. So later Lord Vishnu goes to his Padukas and says, "My dear Paduka, here you were not given entrance, but I promise you, when I come in Treta Yuga, I will give you so much importance, so much so that you will rule the kingdom for 14 years. That same Paduka came down as the Paduka of Sri Ram, and Bharat kept it on the throne and worshipped that Paduka for the next 14 years. Krishna, Sri Ram, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Once they catch hold of a devotee, they don't know to leave the devotee. We were making this point earlier in Sarjapur. भगवान पकड़ना जानते, भगवान छोड़ना नहीं जानते. जब पूतना आई वृंदावन धाम और भगवान का वध करना चाहती थी, विष लेकर आई, और जब भगवान को विष पिलाने लगी तो भगवान जान गए और भगवान विष भी पीने लगे. लेकिन विष पीते पीते when Krishna started sucking the life air out of her, Putana looked at Krishna and said, "Sa muncha muncha, oh son, leave me. If I knew you were God, I would have never come to Vrindavan. Sa muncha, please leave me." At that place, Sripad Hari Suri, one commentator, my worshipable spiritual master Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj was saying, Sripad Hari Suri comments there by saying, क्या करे, भगवान पकड़ना जानते, भगवान छोड़ना नहीं जानते. भगवान यदि भक्त को पकड़ लिए, even if the devotee forgets the Lord, Krishna doesn't know. He doesn't know to forget. And he will make sure to get you back to this process. How much ever you forget, how much ever you drift away, he will make sure to get you back. He is an attention seeker. He wants attention. And he will make sure to do whatever it takes to grab attention back to him. We see as to how our predecessor Acharyas have very beautifully made this point. And when Srila Prabhupada was there at 26 2nd Avenue, we will make this point and we will end our discussion. When Srila Prabhupada was there at 26 2nd Avenue in New York, in Manhattan, Srila Prabhupada would have the Monday, Wednesday, Friday Bhagavad Gita classes. And he would put posters in Manhattan, the streets of Manhattan. And the posters would read, Indian Swami is teaching Bhagavad Gita Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And the hippies would see that and they would be intrigued. And they would come and they would hear. And Prabhupada would speak Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita we see is technical. Especially sections where action in inaction, inaction in action, action in action, inaction in action. It's very confusing sometimes. And Prabhupada would speak this. And now, those who were sitting, those who were hearing, because they were young, at one point they would hear and they would want to get up and they would want to leave. And Prabhupada saw this pattern, that sometimes people are getting up and they're leaving. So Prabhupada thought to himself, something has to be done. They are getting up and they're leaving. Prabhupada did something that we can't even think about. The next time they came, after the class and all started, Prabhupada placed a bucket of gulab jamun at the entrance of the door. Now what happened? People came inside, they started hearing the class. 15, 20, 30 minutes into the class, they would get up and they would go out. But as they would go out, they would see the bucket of gulab jamun. Iskcon bullets. They would see a bucket of gulab jamun. Now they would want gulab jamun, but everyone is hearing class. It doesn't look good in between class. I'm eating gulab jamun. So they would again come back and sit in the class. Why? Because after the class, they will get gulab jamun. So every class, Prabhupada would keep buckets of gulab jamun. And those people who would get up and they would go, they would smell the fragrance of the gulab jamun. They would again come back and sit, and at the end of the class, they would have gulab jamun. These stunts are performed by expert professionals. Please do not try it in your center. Not even home, in your center. Prabhupada did it and he was successful. And later we find as to how, by the power of Krishna Prasad, slowly the hippies ended up becoming the happies. Having said this, I very humbly want to stop here and also want to thank the temple management for very kindly inviting me here to Bengaluru, to Sheshadripuram, and also to Sarjapur, and engaging my tongue in the discussion of Krishna Katha, in the discussion of Gaur Katha, in the discussion of Shri Ram Katha. My very humble obeisances to His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu and also His Grace Vraj Krishna Prabhu for very kindly inviting. And I hope and pray that this is just one of the many more future visits. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. It's 12:50. So if there are any question, maybe one question or something, we can take. If there are, oh, there's one hand raised.
I couldn't hear.
So we find that Sri Ram is someone, is Maryada Purushottam, Charitravan. And Sri Ram is so much Maryada. Ideally, Shastra explains Charitra is when you have every opportunity to glorify yourself, but you still don't do it. When Muchukunda Maharaj saw Krishna, Muchukunda Maharaj asked Krishna, "Who are you?" Krishna didn't say, "Matta parataram nanyat kinji asti dhananjaya." He didn't say, "I am God." Krishna took a very humble position. Krishna said, "Well, I am Vasudev." The same thing we find in Sudama pastime, where our Sri Krishna in the Rajasuya Yagya takes a very humble position and cleans the lotus feet of Sudama. He is Bhagavan, but ends up cleaning the lotus feet of Sudama. Same thing we find in Sri Ram. When Sri Ram was the king, everyone would make garlands for Sri Ram because he was about to become the king. This was the time when he was about to become the king. Everyone would make garlands for him. But when he was exiled and he had to go to the forest, he started making garlands for Bharat. This is Charitra. This is Maryada. So Sri Ram is someone who always follows etiquette, who always follows social principles. Now he being the king, for a king it is always believed his praja is first. And now because of the whole scene, whatever had happened, people had doubts in Mother Sita for whatever reason. And now Sri Ram had no issues. But when these doubts entered the ear of Sri Ram, when he got to know that his citizens are having doubt in the queen, if the citizens are having doubt in the queen, which means they will have doubt in the king. If there are doubts on the character of the king cannot rule. Already for 14 years, he has been away from the kingdom. And now people have some faith. But now after he comes back, if people are having faith in his character because of Maya Sita, he cannot rule Ayodhya. That Ayodhya which was so dear to Dasharath Maharaj. If he, being the successful heir to the throne, if he cannot rule, then as a son, he's not fulfilling the duty of Sri Dasharath Maharaj. Keeping his citizens first, he offers his obeisance to Maya Sita. In that way. Hare Krishna. Yes. How to improve chanting? I can probably answer that when I am following it. Our chanting is very interesting. We see when we start chanting, our hand goes into bead bag, and 10 minutes into chanting, if Prabhupada knew that in 2020 there is going to be smartphone and this is the use of index finger, he would have sealed this also. Seeing our chanting, he would have sealed that also. So we know our chanting. Yesterday we were saying Ante Narayana Smriti. Transcendental. So how to improve? Of course, these are, I again want to make it clear, these are the things that I have heard from the disciples of Prabhupada. I am repeating. It's not that I am a perfect chanter or a great chanter. I am not. I am still struggling. My mind still goes here and there. But the points that I have heard from Prabhupada disciples, I will just repeat. There are a couple of points that we can do. Couple of tips and tricks or techniques, that so to say. First, as Prabhupada explained, we chant and hear. We sit in a place where it's isolated. We pick a room that is isolated. Most often we find many devotees have a room dedicated for chanting, where in the morning they get up and they sit and chant. Second and most important, phone to the side. Social media to the side. Because our phone is such, Microsoft Teams, we have Slack, all the IT professionals know what I'm talking about. For others, it may be Gyan. For the IT professionals, it is Vigyan. These things keep disturbing us. Emails and so many other things. In the morning, we just pick a time where our phone is to the side. And we chant 16 rounds, keeping the phone to the side and hearing, as Prabhupada said. Every time we chant, we close our eyes and we hear. This is one. Second, what we can do is, as we are chanting, close your eyes and in your mind think that you have a blank paper and you have to write the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As you are chanting, think that you have a blank slate, a clean page, and in your mind you are writing them to get your attention. That is point number 2. Point number 3 can be, we all have our favorite deities. For some, for those staying here, it may be Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra of Seshadripuram. For people like me in Seattle, it may be Radha Neela Madhav, who is worshipped there. For devotees in Mayapur, it may be Radha Madhav. For devotees in Vrindavan, it may be Radha Shyam Sundar. For some, it may be Radha Raman. For some, it may be Banke Bihari. We all have our favorite deities. Keep or laminate a photo and keep it in front of you while chanting. And as you are chanting, keep looking at that form and keep chanting. Look at his eyes, look at his eyebrows, look at his pagadi, look at his earrings, look at his nose rings, look at his septum. Krishna has a habit of wearing a septum. Rupa Goswami explains. See his bangles and so on and so forth. While you're chanting, look at the form of Krishna. After that, what we can do is now close your eyes, and because you have seen the form of Krishna, now close your eyes and try to draw that form in your mind. Try to draw that form. Wherever you stop, open your eyes, again see, again close, again draw. What is happening is, while you're chanting, you're not just seeing the form of the deity that you like, but you're also seeing it in a way where now, even if eyes are closed, every small detail you can kind of draw. Point number 4. And one last thing that we can do is, if we have been to Vrindavan, or if we have been to Mayapur, or if we have been to Jagannath Puri, we can close our eyes and do Mansik Braj Yatra, Mansik Navadvip Yatra, Mansik Jagannath Puri Yatra. It takes rupees and dollars to go to Vrindavan and Mayapur and Jagannath Puri, but it doesn't take anything to just sit at Seshadripuram and think about Vrindavan. It is free. Rupa Goswami says, Tishtan vrajet tad anuragi jananugami kalam nayed akhilam ityupadesha saram. This is Rupa Goswami's statement. If not physically, mentally. And Srila Prabhupada, we see in the last days, Srila Prabhupada was in London, and from London he was coming to Gita Nagari, Pennsylvania. But when he reached London, May of 1977, his health deteriorated so much. He told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, cancel Gita Nagari, I want to go to Vrindavan. Next 6 months Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, Akhand Brajavas. So much so that Prabhupada loved Vrindavan so much. In that state, when he was finding it difficult to even walk, he tells Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I want to do Govardhan Parikrama. Prabhupada was 81. And he, in that state, wanted to do Govardhan Parikrama. Not by auto. Walking. Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj said, Prabhupada, no. You may be Guru, yes, but we love you so much, we will not allow you. Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj said, Prabhupada, we will do Parikrama for you and we will give you the credit. Prabhupada said, okay. Disciples of Prabhupada did Govardhan Parikrama and gave the credit to Prabhupada. He who did bhajan all his life and inspired so many devotees and made so many disciples, as a matter of reciprocation, as a matter of love, now the disciples do Giriraj Parikrama and offer it to Prabhupada. So that is the 5th thing that we can do while sitting in Seshadripuram. In fact, Srila Radhanath Maharaj said this in a 2004 yatra. He said this, after you go back to America, he told one American devotee, after you go back to America, every single day close your eyes and think about Vrindavan. The places that I took you all, the katha that I inspired you all with, every single day think about Vrindavan. Even if you are in America, you are in Vrindavan. So while chanting, close your eyes and think you're walking in the streets of Vrindavan. You're walking and you have Yamuna on this side, you have Imli Tal on this side, you go straight, there is Shir Ghat, you have Radha Madan Mohan, you keep walking straight, you have Maki Bihari, then you have Radha Raman, from Radha Raman you take a left, you have Gopal Bhatta Goswami Samadhi, then you take another left, you keep going straight, you have Radha Gokulananda, you go to that side, you have Nidhivan, you go straight, you have Seva Kunj. You're sitting in Sheshadripuram, but your mind, your heart, your body is in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada says, you get the same benefit of being in Vrindavan. So now, while chanting, if you're thinking about Vrindavan, you're not just chanting, but you're chanting in the mood of remembering Vrindavan. And now this gives more benefit. So these are a few things that we can say. Of course, these things I have heard from the disciples of Prabhupada. I am simply repeating. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Tai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bo.
Thank you very much for wonderful Rama Katha.